Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be here and to share some thoughts and ideas about money from John Gottman's book, 8 Dates. Also, to prepare ourselves to go on date number 4, where we'll be talking about the cost of love, work, and money. Before we get into our topic, though, I want to put out a question to everyone. Besides being rich and famous and having a lot of money, what do all of these music artists have in common? Answer: all of them have either written or sang songs about love, money, or work. Some had all 3 themes in the same song. Other songs had no lyrics, they were instrumentals, but the song had either the words love, money, or work in the title. So, what is it about money that it's so easy to write songs about, perform before packed coliseums, but difficult for couples to talk about one-on-one? At times, money somehow seems to become an intrinsic extension of ourselves, and we get a gut reaction when the topic comes up. Last week we discussed sexual intimacy. Money falls into the same category as one of the 5 top issues in a marriage that causes conflict. Gottman even goes further to say from research that financial arguments were the best predictor of divorce. That's a sobering thought. But money does not have to be seen as a source of avoidance, contention, and conflict, but as a vehicle to communicate and connect. And that's what we want to do on our date, as with all of our dates. The most important goal of this date is to uncover and understand what money means, first of all to ourselves, and secondly to our spouse. Is it security, success, freedom, happiness? Keep in mind that each of us has a complex history that defines our beliefs about money and how we use it. We want to start the conversation of understanding how to talk about money together as a couple. Not just to have an understanding of money here, but more importantly, to understand our spouse and gain a deeper connection with them in the process. At a company I used to work at, 4 of us were responsible for the operations of the business. The owner told us, "I don't care about the courses of action that you guys decide in my absence. I'm more concerned about how decisions were made." If we pay attention to how we talk about money, it's a greater chance that decisions we make as a couple are going to be more sound, having more discernment, and one that is workable to both people. When we are able to listen actively and skillfully and connect on that level, money can then become a true asset in our marriage. Maintain that curiosity about your spouse. So, is money and work the cost of love? Keep that question on the back burners and we'll come back to it later on. So, how much is enough money? That's going to be different for everyone. We all have different levels of comfort as well as thresholds when something becomes a concern. The more relevant question might be, what are my priorities based on what I do have? St. John Chrysostom isn't famous for any songs that he might have written, but he is for the sermons that he preached, specifically about wealth and poverty. In one of his sermons he writes, "Let us learn not to call the rich lucky, nor the poor unfortunate. Rather, if we are to tell the truth, the rich man is not the one who has collected many possessions, but the one who needs few possessions. And the poor man is not the one who has no possessions, but the one who has many desires." We ought to consider this the definition of poverty and wealth. So if you see someone greedy for many things, you should consider him the poorest of all, even if he has acquired everyone's money. If, on the other hand, you see someone with few needs, you should count him the richest of all, even if he has acquired nothing. Let's keep in mind St. John Chrysostom's words as a grounding stake in how we view money as we go forward here. In discovering what money means to each of us, Gottman talks about the spender and the saver. I want to refer to them as money styles, not as money personalities. Money is an external object. It's outside of ourselves. We may develop certain attachments to it, either by circumstances or choice, and acquire accompanying behaviors regarding money. But our identity is not defined by our behaviors or our riches, but by how God made us, which is in His image and likeness. There's no wrong or right in being any of these money styles. Each style has its advantages as well as its drawbacks, if taken to extremes. Keep in mind also that none of us are exclusively one particular money style or another. We don't want to stereotype our partners as being only this or only that. That would be black and white thinking. All of us can be blends of each style, depending on the situation and what's at stake at the time. Let's look at each of the money styles. First of all, the spender. This person might see himself as using money to live a happy life, having comfort, health, and fun. To others, the spender might be seen as frivolous, impulsive, extravagant, and self-indulgent. The saver, on the other hand, might see himself as conservative, wise, values money as an accomplishment, success, freedom from worry, or an investment in the future. By the same token, others might see the saver as miserly, stingy, cheap, selfish, a person who doesn't know how to enjoy pleasure. In addition to the spender and the saver, Elena Banks, who's a financial coach, identifies two other money styles. The first one is the investor. The investor's goal is to establish residual income. Their plan is to go out and make money that will go out and make more money. Everything they spend is seen as an investment, and they expect a return. The other money style is what she terms as the bohemian. Now for them, money is the last thing on their minds. They may be free-spirited, and they defy social conventions of what success might look like. Why do I need money when I have talent? If things don't work out, they see it as just part of the journey. How many folks in the entertainment world that have made a lot of money, and all of a sudden we hear about them filing bankruptcy? With money comes a responsibility. Money is an object of value. Jesus himself, above all, spoke in parables about riches and how we should regard money. The story of Lazarus and the rich man. The parable of the servant who buried his master's money and didn't do anything until the master returned and required an accounting of it. The rich fool who built storehouses to keep all his grain and more, but in vain, as his soul was demanded of him that night. No matter what our money style is, or blends of each style, there's a charge to be a faithful steward of the resources that we do have, knowing that all of it comes from God, and giving back to Him a portion of what was given to us. On date number 4, you and your spouse will have a chance to explore what money means to each of you, not just on the surface level, but underneath. We want to go beneath the tip of the iceberg. What drives us in regards to money? Where do our attitudes about money come from? Why do I basically identify with a particular money style and not another? Gottman directs us to look into our family histories. How did my parents handle money? Did they spend it, save it, invest it? How did they talk about money with each other? What messages did they communicate to me about money? What are my own dreams and goals pertaining to money? While talking about your family histories, notice what emotions come up for you also. Our family history and emotional history can affect how we do money in our relationships. Last session, George introduced the feelings chart, the emotions with the faces attached to it. There is an emotional component that is attached to money. Use that chart as a guide to connect with your feelings about money, back then with your parents and now as an adult. It's not uncommon today and even the norm that both husband and wife work and have careers. Often one of the spouses may work more hours than the other. How would that play out in the household and in home life? If one spouse doesn't work at all but stays home with the kids, would that spouse end up doing most of the household chores? Gottman reports that if the stay-at-home spouse did all the chores at home, grocery shopping, errands, preparing meals, taking care of the kids, cleaning, the unpaid work, so to speak, would cost approximately $90,000 a year if they hired someone else to do it. That's a lot of money and a lot of work. In 2007, Pew Research did a study and found that after faithfulness and a good sex life, sharing household chores was the most important element of a successful marriage. Couples fight more about the division of labor in the household than they do about their paying jobs outside of the home. Keep in mind also that our jobs and marriages fall into a larger context of life. Many of us also have additional priorities that compete with our time as a couple: social commitments, friends and relatives, community involvement, children, our personal health and fitness, recreational, personal growth, hobbies, church, and our spiritual life as well. Gottman shares the story of a young couple, the wife doing her medical residency and the husband supporting her in her work. They had limited or no time as a couple. She, being on call 24/7, eventually propelled their marriage into a crisis, and serious decisions had to be made. Both in tears, they decided that their marriage was the most important thing in their life and came up with a priority. First on their list was their health and spiritual well-being. Second was their marriage, then family. Third was work and money. How do we balance work, love, our home life with all the responsibilities with chores? What priorities outside of our marriage do we need to agree upon? What boundaries do we need to set in place to ensure that we can have and maintain connection with our spouse? The priorities will be different and unique for all of us. It's important to talk about the individual priorities that we value as well as our priorities as a couple. I want to revisit the question earlier that was posed in the beginning. Is work and money the cost of love? In 1 Corinthians 13, St. Paul wrote one of the most striking and beautiful descriptions. His words describe love, patience, kindness, not being envious or boastful, truthfulness. Love protects, honors, trusts, hopes, perseveres. These attributes would be themes for great songs that could be written. These words, when put into action, is what we give of ourselves to have and maintain love in our marriages. These are the currencies of connection, if you will. Money and work are important, and they certainly have their place. But these virtues are the true cost of love. This is what we pay, or rather, what we can give freely of ourselves. Invest in these virtues and make them part of your song and how you do life and in staying connected with your spouse.
You're the only one who knows how to speak to my soul. Oh yeah, the better, the worse, the in-betweens, baby. I'm gonna give you my everything from now on. won't have to walk this road alone. Oh, my yesterdays and my tomorrows, all my laughter and my sorrow. Yeah, your heart is the only one I know. Oh, till the stars fall out of the sky and the rivers, they all run dry. Baby, you're mine, only one. Till the silver that runs through our hair, don't you know that I'll always be there? Baby, I swear, to my days on this earth are done.